Hi and welcome to Rocco Baby Crochet. In this video I'm going to be showing you how I make these lovely little baby hats. The size we're doing today is 0 to 3 months and they've got this lovely little bobble stitch that goes through them. You can choose whatever colour you want for these. You can choose whatever colour you want, where I've used white as well. Popped a little pom-pom on the top and they've got a ribbed edge around the bottom. Okay, so let me show you what you need to complete this project. Let me move these out of the way. So I've got some Aran yarn. So this is Women's Institute Soft and Smooth Aran yarn. Now this is a massive ball. If you've got a 100-gram ball, that is more than enough to make one of these hats in your 2 colours. So 100-gram of each colour, and that is more than enough. So you're going to need your 2 colours. You are going to need a 5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a darning needle to tie in our ends. If you're new to crochet, you're going to find a stitch marker handy. These are the ones we made the other day. Oh, they're so cute. And I've also gone ahead and made my pom-pom. So using the smallest pom-pom maker that I've got. So it's a 3cm pom-pom, which if you're making yours, I've tied mine off in my white because that's the colour I'm going to be stitching it into. So you just want to bear that in mind when you're making your pom-pom, that you better start doing it in the white, so when you sew it in at the end it can't be seen through your work. Okay, so let's get going. Okay, so first of all you want to take your white yarn and make yourself a magic ring, which is what we're going to be working around to create the top of the hat. Okay, and the stitch that we're going to be using today is a half herringbone treble crochet. So the way that we do that is, first of all, you want to chain 1. Now that does not count as a stitch in this project. Let me just grab myself a bit more yarn. And what you want to do is to make a half herringbone treble crochet. I'm just going to, for the sake of this video, just call it the herringbone stitch because it's a bit of a mouthful getting it all out, but the official name is a half herringbone treble crochet. So what you want to do is you want to yarn over, go into the middle of your magic ring, making sure that you are stitching around both the magic ring and your loose end. So when you pull them together, this is inside your work. So you yarn over, pull through pop your hook through, yarn over and pull up. So at this point, you're going to have 3 loops on your hook. To make the herringbone stitch, what you want to do is keep this first stitch on the hook, drop this middle one off and keep this last stitch on the hook. So I put my finger behind it, the middle one, and it just pushes it out a little bit. Pull my hook underneath it and it just drops itself off. So then you should have 2 loops on your hook. So then you just yarn over and pull through both of those, and that finishes off your stitch. Remember, if you're new to crochet, pop your stitch marker in, just so you know where your first stitch is. So show you again. So we need to put 12 of these into this magic ring. So you're yarning over, going through your magic ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, and you slip off that middle loop, and then you yarn over and pull through your remaining 2. So I'll show you again. Yarn over, insert your hook into your magic ring, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we've got 3 loops on our hook, drop off the middle loop, leaving 2 on your hook, yarn over and pull through both of those loops. So yarn over into your magic ring, yarn over, pull up the loop, drop off your middle loop on your hook, and then yarn over, complete the stitch by pulling through the last 2 loops. So I'll do this first round with you. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me just grab some more yarn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10. So we just need 2 more. 11, and then our last one, 12. Now if you need to sprise your magic ring open a little bit to get all these stitches on, that's okay. Sometimes you do. Mine's just opened up naturally as I was stitching around it, but sometimes you do have to sort of force it open a little bit to get all your stitches on. So what you want to do is pull on your loose end and close that up. Okay, now for round 2, this is going to be an increasing round. So every other stitch around this is going to be an increase, which means we're going to pop 2 half herringbones into the first one. The second stitch is just going to get 1. The third one is going to be an increase, so we're going to pop 2 in there, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okie dokie, so let's get this started. Just take my stitch marker out. I hope you've all had a lovely Christmas. So what you want to do is insert your hook there, do a slip stitch and chain 1. So into this first stitch directly under where you've done your slip stitch, can you see? You're going to pop 2. 1, 2. Then you're going to move along to your next stitch and just place 1 in there. And then your next stitch is going to be an increase, so you're going to pop 2 into that one. And then 1 in your next, and you just continue that alternate pattern of an increase and then a single herringbone into each stitch, and I'll meet you back when we get round here. Okay, so I've done a total of 18 stitches. You want to be finishing the round on a single herringbone stitch, and then this brings you over to where you've chained 1 and gone up to your first stitch. So let's just, what we do to connect over is we just slide our hook underneath the top of that very first herringbone stitch, pull through the loop and do a slip stitch. Pull through that loop. Don't forget to use your stitch markers if you need them. Okay, so for my second round, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and then the row repeat of this round is going to be 1 increase followed by the next 2 following stitches, 1 individual half herringbone into those. So let's get you started. So again, you're going directly underneath where you've slip stitched. So you can see that hole there. Yarn over, pop your hook in the middle of there and pop your first 2 half herringbones into that same stitch. The next 2 stitches along, you're going to pop 1 into each. One, 2. Don't forget at this point, pop your stitch marker in if you need it before you go too far. So I know I've done 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. So then my next one along is going to be my increase. So I'm going to pop 2 herringbone stitches in there. 1, 2, and then the next 2 stitches along, just 1 stitch in each. 1, 2, and that is your round repeat for this. So it's 1 increase followed by 2 individual stitches. You should be ending on your 2 individual stitches, and it's a total number of 24 stitches for this round. So I'll meet you back when we get around here, okay? Okay, so I've come to the end of this round. I've got 3 stitches left, which is right for me. So I'm just about to do my last increase of the round. So I'm going to pop 2 into there, and then I know that I've gone right with my stitches. I've got 2 stitches left to place an individual herringbone stitch into each. And that completes round 3. So round 4 is going to be the first round where we use the colour. So what we want to do is tie off this white. So just take out your stitch marker. What you want to do, I've tried this a couple of different ways, but this is the neatest way I can find to do it. Slip stitch to close that round off, and chain 1. Pop your work down, grab your scissors, cut off a couple of 3 or 4 inches, and then you can pop your white yarn down for a little minute. Pull that up so your yarn comes through, and pull on that, and that makes the knot. So what we want to do is we want to, at this point, turn our work over, and we're going to be because our bobbles are going to come on this side, so we want the bobbles to be falling on the front of our work, which is here. You can see the difference. That looks lovely and textured. It's a lovely stitch, this half herringbone. It gives a lovely textured, really nice thick stitch, so it's lovely, perfect for a hat. So turn it over onto the back. You can see it's not quite as pretty, and you should have your loose end there from your magic ring as well, so you know that that's the back side. So grab your grey yarn, and what you're going to do is just make a slip knot, and pull it onto your hook. And where we're going is, if you can see directly under where we've made this knot here, there is a little hole, so you want to pop your hook straight through there, and you're going to slip stitch, so yarn over, pull up a loop, and then slip stitch that work, the grey colour, onto your work. Okay, so to make the bobble stitch, I carry my loose ends around with me, so it saves me sewing in. Now if you don't want to do that and it's a little bit complicated for you at the moment, then you can sew them in at the end, it's no problem. So to make your first bobble stitch, what you're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and then into this same space where we've popped our slip stitch, so we're working directly back into this hole. We're going to place, in essence, 5 stitches to make the bobble. So I'll show you how you do it. So you yarn over, insert your hook into that hole, yarn over and pull up a loop. So you've got 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 and leave the others on there. And then you just continue to do that another 4 times. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2. And you can see that your loops on your hook will increase. So once you've done this 5 times, you'll have 6 of these on there, and that's what we want. So yarn over, back into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over, pull through your first 2, So we've got 4 loops now, yarn over, back into that same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. So we've got 5 loops on the hook. So this is our last one. So we yarn over, insert back into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over and pull through 2. So you've got 6 loops on the hook. Now to finish off your bobble, what you do is you take your hook, yarn over and pull through all 6 of those loops, taking them off the hook. And that's what forms your bobble. Now you're going to go straight into your next stitch. So ignore this little bit here. Can you see it? That is just where we tied. That's just your knot. So don't try and get a stitch in there. Your next stitch along is here. So you're going to yarn over and you're going to pop 1 herringbone stitch directly into there. So again, dropping off that middle loop. And then the next stitch along is going to be our increase. So the next stitch along, we're going to pop 2 herringbone stitches into that one. Drop off the middle, yarn over, insert our hook, pull up a loop, drop off the middle stitch and yarn over, pull through the last 2. And then the next stitch is going to be our bobble. So I'll show you that again. So yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, back into that same stitch, pull up the loop, yarn over, take through off your first 2, yarn over, insert your hook back into that same stitch, pull up the loop, yarn over and pull through your first 2, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, take off your first 2 loops. So now we've got 5 loops, so we know we need just 1 more. And that's how you do the bobble stitch. It's really easy, but it looks lovely. So then your next stitch, you're going to pop 1 half herringbone, and then your next stitch along is going to be your increase. So into that one, you're going to pop your 2. Now once I've carried my loose ends this far around, I usually trim them off. It just makes it a little bit easier. So you've not got all these loose ends in your way as you're crocheting. So that's going to be your row repeat. So it's my next one's going to be a bobble stitch, 1 individual herringbone and an increase of 2 herringbones, and we do that all the way around until we get to the other end, and it'll be a total of 32 stitches. So I'll meet you when I'm on my last cluster. Okay, press pause. Okay, so I'm on my last little row repeat here, and I've got 3 stitches left to work into, which is right. So I'm going to put my last bobble stitch in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yarn over, take through all of them. Then I've got my individual herringbone, and then I've got 1 stitch left, and I'm going to work my increase in there. So I'm going to pop 2 into that one. And now what we want to do is we want to change back over to the white colour. So we slip stitch into the back of the bobble stitch. Now you'll be able to see that the bobble stitch, these are your normal herringbones, and this is the back of your bobble stitch. It's a lot longer than all the other stitches, and that can really help when you're identifying stitches when you begin with. So you know on our next round, each of our increase is going to fall in these longer stitches of the back of the bobble stitch. So just take your hook, pop it underneath the top of your bobble stitch that form the V, and make a slip stitch. Chain 1, give yourself sort of 3-4 inches length of yarn, to tie in or work around, and then just pull up and pull firmly on that just to secure that round. Okay, so we're going to move back over to the white, and we're going to, oh, I've lost my end. Bear with me 1 second. Just drop down on the floor. So I've got my white, and what we want to do is, again, we're just going to make a slip knot. And we're going to go directly underneath where we've just joined and made that knot. So straight through this hole here. Okay. So I'm going to, again, carry my loose ends around, save me a job later on. If you're more comfortable sewing them in at the end, that's fine as well. So once you've done that, so you've attached your work, flip your work over, so now your lovely little popcorns are facing you, your bubbles are facing you. And into this first stitch here, you want to place 2. So this is your first increase. So our row repeat is going to be 1 increase, and then in the next 3 stitches along, you place in 1 individual half herringbone. So chain 1 to begin with, and then into this very first stitch we're going to place 2 half herringbones. 1, 2, take off 1, and then come to your last 2. Remember your stitch markers if you need these to show you where your first stitches are. Like I said, because your bobble stitches are so much wider, they're a good indicator that you're hitting the right point at the right time. So I've done my increase, so now I want in the next 3 stitches along 1 herringbone stitch into each of those. 1, 2, 3. So I've hit my popcorn, bubble stitch. So it's known as popcorn, bubble stitch, bobble stitch. You'll hear them called all those things. So in the back of this one, so I know I'm at my increase, so I'm popping 2 into that one. But that's your row repeat for this round. So it's an increase followed by 1 individual herringbone stitch in the next 3 along. And in this round you should have a total of 40 stitches, and I'll meet you back towards the end of the round when I'm on my last sort of sequence of stitches. Okay, so if you want to press pause. Okay, so I'm at my last cluster here. So I've got my popcorn stitch, so I'm going to pop 2 into there. 1, 2, and then the next 3 along we're going to place individual stitches. 1, 2, and 3. So we need to change back now to the grey to do our bobble. So we need to slip stitch across into where our first stitch was. So take out your stitch marker, pop your hook through the top of that stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through. Just do a slip stitch, and then you want to chain 1. Leave yourself sort of, again, 3 or 4 inches, and snip your yarn, pull it up and pull on that loose end there to secure it. And then what we want to do is attach our grey to do our next row of bobble stitches. So you can see should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bobbles. That's going to stay the same number of bobbles. They're just going to go further apart as the hat increases in circumference. So I'm just going to grab my grey. Okay, so I've got my grey yarn. Oops, sorry, 1 second. Okay. Tilly was here then. So I want to make a slip knit knot and just attach that yarn. Again, we're going directly underneath where we've just joined. So you see that little space there. So insert your hook underneath your knot. And you want to just slip stitch to join. Chain 1. So I'm going to carry my loose ends around with me because I find it easier. If you want to let them again just hang down, you can sew them in at the end. So I'm going to do this round repeat is going to be 1 bobble stitch, then in the next 3 stitches along single herringbones, and then in the next stitch along is going to be your increase. So 1 bobble, 3 individual and 1 increase, and that's going to be our row repeat. So I'll just do the first couple with you. So yarn over, insert your hook into that same hole, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, back into that same hole, yarn over, pull up, yarn, pull over, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, directly back into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over, pull off 2, yarn over, pop your hook through the same stitch, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull off your first 2, and you should have 6 loops in total on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 6. So then you're moving on to your next stitch, which is here. So ignore again where we've joined, that is not a stitch. You're going into your next stitch, and you'll be able to see from the top here your V. So you know where your V is, that's your next stitch. So what you want to do into the next 3 stitches along is place 1 herringbone stitch, 1, 2, 3, and then we've got our increase. So we're popping 2 into this stitch here, and then we repeat that sequence. So this round in total will have a total of 48 stitches. So yarn over, we're creating our next bobble stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 6 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through them all. So we know now that our next 3 stitches are going to be 1 herringbone in the next 3, 2, 3, and then we need our increase, so 2 into this stitch, and you just continue with that sequence, and I'll meet you back when I'm on my last last sequence of the round. So if you want to hit pause now. Okay, so I'm at my last row repeat here, and I've got 5 stitches left, so I know that my pattern, I follow my pattern correctly. 3, 4, 5, take all them off. So then I want 1, a bit more yarn, 1, 2, 3, and then I've got 1 stitch left here to work my increase in. And then what you want to do is we slip stitch to join this round, and we need to tie off the grey. So we're going to slip stitch into the back here of this bobble stitch. Oops, I'm going through too many stitches here. So you just want to go underneath the V like that, pull through and pull through again, chain 1 and cut off your yarn, leaving you 3 or 4 inches to tie in. So pull it up, pull on that loose end, and that just creates your knot. And then when you turn your work over to do your next round, so you've still got your 8 bobbles, but they're spaced out further apart, and you should see that they're directly underneath the one from the previous round. So it's following that pattern, so they're staying underneath but just more stitches in between. So you're going to want to grab your white yarn next for this next round and make yourself a slip knot again. So this is round 7. This is our last increasing round. So we've got the circumference of the hat to what we need for a 0 to 3-year-old. Now, after this round, so you slip stitch your white on and chain 1. So the round repeat for this round is going to be 1 increase and then 1 individual herringbone into your next 5 stitches. Again, your increases are going to fall on this bobble, so it's nice and easy for you to identify. But if you are new, just count along to make sure that you're getting the correct number of stitches in there. So we'll do our first one. So our first one is our increase, so we need to pop 2 into here, 1, and 2. So the next, into the next 5 stitches, I'm just going to be placing 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you're doing like me and you're carrying your loose ends around, make sure they're just on the back side of the work, just so it's nice and neat. So I've done my 5 individuals, so I'm back at a bobble stitch. So I know that this is my increase stitch, so I pop 2 into this one. And then my next 5 along, I'm going to place 1 herringbone stitch into each of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and your last one here is always just at the side of your bobble stitch, so you can see it from up above the V just before we've got the longer V of the bobble. So just make sure you're not missing that one off. So that's all you're going to do for this round. Nice easy round. So 1 increase, and then in the next 5 stitches 1 half herringbone, and I will come back to you when I'm here and I'm on my last row repeat. So if you want to hit pause. Okay, so I'm at my last repeat of this round, so I'm going into the back of my bobble stitch and I'm going to do my increase. 1, 2, and then I've got 5, 1 individuals, 2, 3, 4, my last one right next to that bobble stitch, 5, and then you just want to slip stitch over to your next, to the top of that very first one that we did, and chain 1. So you're going to want to cut off again 3 or 4 inches, and then I'm just going to grab my grey yarn. Okay, I've got my grey yarn, so we're just going to tie this off and turn our work over. You'll notice now it's starting to turn up a little bit like a hat. So grab your grey yarn, make yourself a slip knot again, and you're going directly underneath this stitch here where you formed your knot. So let me make that a little bit bigger so you can see that there. And because we're not doing any more increases, each round along now is going to have 56 stitches in it. So we slip stitch to join our grey. Don't forget your bobbles should be pointing away from you, and chain 1. So we want to do our round repeat for this round. It's going to be 1 bobble stitch followed by 1 individual herringbone stitch in the next 6 stitches. Okay, so let's make our first bobble. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over and pull all them through. Some more yarn. And then in the next 6 stitches, so remember, if you're getting a little bit confused where your stitches, look from up at the top. It's this first V here, so you're ignoring this little bit here where your knot has formed and going directly into this next stitch here. But look up above and you'll be able to see your V. Pop your finger there and that's where you're going. Okay, so yarn over and do your herringbone stitch, 1 in the next 6 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So then you're going to do your next bobble. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I've got my 6 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull them all off, and then I'm going to go and do my 6 herringbone stitches in my next 6 stitches. So that's your round repeat, 1 bobble, and then in the next 6 stitches along 1 herringbone stitch. So I'll meet you when I'm on my last cluster of this round. So if you want to hit pause. Okay, so I'm at my last little sequence and I've got 7 stitches left to work into, so I know that my pattern has followed the right pattern. So I'm going to just make my last little bobble. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5, yarn over, pull through all 6 loops on your hook, and then I've got enough space left for my last 6 remaining stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we're just going to join this round now using a slip stitch, again going into the back of your very first bobble. Pull through, chain 1, cut yourself off 3 or 4 inches, pull up and pull on that loose end and secure your work. So I'm just going to chop off my ends that I tied in from the previous round. And I'm just going to grab my grey. Sorry, I'm just going to grab my white. So what we're going to do is again make a slip knot, secure it to our hook, have your bobbles so they're facing you this time, and we're just going to go into the back of this bobble directly underneath where we've just joined, so directly where that knot is. Let me show you. So we're just going into here. So slide your hook underneath your knot. And this is a really easy round. So you want to do a slip stitch just to join the white. And all we're doing here is we're going all the way around. And in each stitch, we're going to place one of the half herringbones. So you want to start by chaining 1. And then back into that stitch that we've just attached to, you're going to make your first half herringbone. Then you're going to move along to your next stitch, again ignoring where this knot is. So look up at the top of your work if you're struggling to see this, and find your next V along, which is here. So we're going into this one here. So can you see, this is where I used to always put extra stitches. I'm going to carry my work along, my loose ends along, to save me having to tie them in. You're new to crochet, these white rounds, it's best to use a stitch marker because we've not got the bobbles to identify our first stitch. And you want 56 stitches going all the way around. So I'll pop back to you when I'm on my last 3 or 4 stitches. But all you're doing is one half herringbone into every stitch on this round. So press pause and I'll meet you when I'm coming towards the end of this round. Okie dokie. Okay, so I've done my first 49 herringbone stitches and I'm at my last little section. So 49 stitches should bring you just before your last bobble stitch. Your last bobble stitch should be 50. And then I've got 6 more to work into. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's do those together. Two, 3, 4, 5, and our last one, 6. So we want to slip stitch this to close it into the top of our very first stitch of this round. So pop out your stitch marker, insert your hook underneath and just slip stitch to join and chain 1. Cut yourself 3 or 4 inches again, just to either sew in or crochet around, and I'm just going to trim my ends from that last round. There we go, and I'm just going to grab my grey yarn. So my bobbles are facing away from me at this point, so this is what we've got so far. So we're just going to do this is our last row of grey. So grab yourself your yarn, make yourself a slip knot and pop that on your hook. Pull on it just to secure it, and again we're going underneath where we've joined, so underneath this knot here. So the round repeat for this round is you're going to do 1 popcorn stitch or 1 bobble stitch, and then 6 individual herringbones. So you just want to slip stitch to attach this grey, chain 1, and then do your first bobble stitch. So just keep my ends towards the back of my work. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I've got my 6 loops, yarn over, pull through, and then in the next 6 stitches along, so again find your top of your first stitch. So for me that's here. You want to place 1 herringbone stitch. Don't know if you can hear Tilly, she's just having a lunch, not so quietly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So once I've done my 6, I need to do my next bobble. So into the next stitch, I'm going to work my bobble. So 1, 2, 3, grab some more yarn, 3, 4, and 5. So I've got 6 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through them all, and then I'm going to do 1 herringbone in the next 6 stitches, then another bobble stitch, then another 6 herringbones, bobble, and then 6 herringbones, bobble, and I repeat that until I get back to here. So I'll meet you when I'm on my last cluster. So again, you should have 56 stitches in total on this round. So if you want to hit pause, and I'll meet you round towards the end of the round. Okay, so I'm at my last little round repeat here. So I've got 1 more bobble to work. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over, pull through all of those loops, and then I should have, if I followed the pattern correctly, 6 herringbone stitches here. 2, 3, 4, 5, my last one, 6. Woohoo! Okay, so now what we want to do is slip stitch to join here into the back of our bobble, our first bobble of the round. So just pop your hook underneath both those V's again, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through and chain 1. Again, leaving yourself 3 or 4 inches of yarn to either sew in or work around. Pull that tight. What you want to do is turn your work again, and you can see that the bobbles are all following a nice straight line, just they've got further in space between them, but they're still going down in this nice straight line. Okie dokie. So what you want to do now is we're going to change it a little bit. So you want to grab your white yarn, which is here. I keep dropping my white yarn. And you want to make a slip stitch, sorry, a slip knot to start. Pop your hook in, pull on your working piece of yarn just to secure it, and you go in again directly underneath where we've joined, so into this hole here. And this round what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working treble crochets. So slip stitch. Now for your very first treble crochet, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, and that counts as your first treble in this round. And what you want to do is place 1 treble, so you yarn over, insert your hook into that next stitch, again ignoring this gap here where your knot is, it's not a stitch. Yarn over, insert your hook through the top of that stitch. I'm just carrying my yarn around, but you don't need to do that if you're not comfortable doing that yet. Yarn over and pull up, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So again, moving on to my next stitch, yarn over, insert my hook through the top of the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. So I've got 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And you do that all the way around until you get to the other end, placing 1 treble in every single stitch as you go around. So I'll meet you when I've got just a couple of stitches left to do, and I'll show you how we turn this into the ribbed edge. So if you want to hit pause until you get to that point. Okay, so I've got 3 trebles left to do in this round. And that's my 56 stitches going all the way around, that first chain 3 counting as a stitch. And what you want to do to get over to here to join it to do the ribbed effect is we're just going to slip stitch it. We're not going through any of these chains, you're just going into the middle here. So pop your hook into the middle, not through any stitches in between the 2 posts you want to go, and do a normal slip stitch like that, and then just chain 3 again. Now don't forget to use stitch markers if you're new to crochet. And what we're going to do is our first one to do this ribbed edge, we're going to do something that's called a front post treble crochet. So what you want to do is yarn over, and then you want to insert your hook around the post with your hook on the front of your work. Yarn over and pull up a loop around that post, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through your second 2 loops, and that will naturally push this forward. So the next one we want to be back loop, so it pushes it backwards, and this is what forms the rim. So you yarn over and you're going around this post again, but this time you go around the post from the back of your work. Yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through another 2. So the next one along wants to be a front post, so we yarn over and we go around that post, but from the front of our work, yarn over and pull up. So I've got 3 loops there on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So then I do a back post, so I yarn over and I go around that post, but from the back of my work, yarn over and pull up a loop. So I've got 3 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through my last 2. So I'll show you one more time. So front post, you're yarning over, going around the post with your hook on the front, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through your last 2. So to do the back loop, you yarn over and go round the post from the back of your work, so you can see my hook is inside my hat, yarn over, pull up that loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you just keep doing that all the way around, alternate front post, back post, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so if you want to hit pause. Okay, so I've just got 3 more stitches to work, and if you followed the pattern correctly, your last 3 stitches should be front, back, front posts. So let's just do those, and then I'll show you how we get up onto the next round. Okay, so what we want to do is we just want to do another slip stitch into this hole here. We're not going through any wool, just directly in between these 2 posts of our chain 3, which was counts as our first treble crochet, and then our first front post. So you do a slip stitch and chain 3. And again, that will count as your first treble in this round. So then what you want to do is just go around this round following front post, back post. It'll be easier to see now because your stitches will be falling naturally forwards and backwards. So you can see, I can see that that's a front post and I can see that that's a back post. So just continue doing that. And then I'll meet you back at the end of this round where I'll show you how we do our last round and then how we finish off the baby hat. So we're nearly there. Okay, so if you want to hit pause, and I'll meet you when we get back here. Okay, so I've got 2 more stitches to do to finish off this round, so let's just do those together. So I've got a back loop, treble, and I have got a front loop treble. And then we need to move over and do our very last round of this rim of our hat. So again, we're going in between our chain 3 and our first front post treble. So put your hook directly in the center of that hook, that hole, yarn over and slip that off to make a slip stitch. And what you're going to do is again just chain 3 and then work front loop, front post, back post, front post, back post, all the way round, and I'll meet you back here and I'll show you how to finish it off and secure your pom-pom and things like that. So you want to hit pause. Okie dokie, so I'm at my last 3 stitches. So I've got a front post, back post, treble, and one last front post. And then what you want to do to join it, and what you'll see is that how we slip stitch across to this chain 3 naturally pushes it backwards, so it follows the pattern of our rim. So you're just going to again slip stitch directly into this hole here, yarn over, pull through, and now all you're going to do is chain 1. And then you grab your scissors, cut yourself off 3 or 4 inches to work into the end. Pull up on that and pull on your loose end to make a knot. And there we have our lovely little hat almost done. They're so cute, these. So what I'm going to do is turn my hat inside out, and I'm just going to tie in all these loose ends. Well, I've only got 2 because I did mine as I went along. I don't like getting to the end of a project and then I've got loads of work to do tying in loose ends. So I tend to do that in most of my projects, just work my loose ends into them if I can. And then once I've finished, I've finished. When you're doing big blankets and things, if you don't do it as you go along, you can have absolutely hours. You finish the blanket and you've got hours of sewing and things like that to do. And I just, to be honest, I just don't have the patience for it. So that's why I do mine. So I pop my needle into this stitch here and yarn through. And then I come into this stitch here, put my needle through. And then what you want to do is this post, you just want to take your yarn, going through the middle of it. Can be a little bit tricky because you've got some knots in there from your trebles, and just gently pull that through. And then I go back up the other way. I miss this first piece of yarn here that I've gone underneath, and I just go through the remaining ones. So going through exactly the same stitches, but I just finished just before I get to the rim of my hat. Pull them through gently, and then I go over one last time, again skipping this first one here and going just directly into the one underneath, through the middle of all those stitches. You can't see my needle on the other side, so that means you're not going to be able to see this sewing in, and gently pull that through. Take my needle off, give it a little stretch, make sure it's not pulling my hat in any way, and then you can trim that loose end and that won't go anywhere now. That's nice and secure. So now all we need to do is do the pom-pom, and then I have some little Rocco baby labels that I stitch into mine, but you can buy like the handmade with love ones off Amazon, off eBay, pretty cheap if these are for a craft fair or something like that. They just finish it off. These are really popular. In my next video I'm going to be showing you how to make a matching bunny rabbit lovey. And then after that we're going to be doing a pair of shoes, and we put them in a set, and they're really good if you know anybody who's having a baby, or you want to sell them at a craft fair as baby shower gifts. So just make sure you pull your loose end that was from your magic ring, so you've not got any gap there. And then what you want to do is pop your hook in the middle of where that pop your needle through the middle of your magic ring and pull through your bobble. Now you want to make sure that you've not got any extra yarn on the other side, because you don't want a loose pom-pom. And then I just tie a double knot here, tie it quite tightly so it works its way into your yarn, so it's not going to be uncomfortable on a baby's head. And then all I do is I take those loose ends and yarn them under 5 or 6 stitches, just going through the middle of the stitch. So there I've done 5. Pull that through, miss this first one and go through the remaining ones and pull through, and on this side miss this first one again and go through the last ones. and then I'll cut off that end. And then I just do this the same with this last piece. So, but I use the other side, so I'm not going through the same work and making it bulky. So pop your needle through 5 or 6 stitches, miss that first one coming back, and then again skip that first one and just do that 3 times, and your pom-pom will be nice and secure on there. And then just trim that end, and then you can turn it the right way, and there you have it, a beautiful 0 to 3 crocheted bubble hat. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Hit like and subscribe, because like I say, we're going to be doing a matching lovey blanket and some shoes next. So if you know anybody you want to do a baby shower gift for, or you just want to sell them at a craft fair or pop them on Etsy, they are quite a popular little set, this. So hit like and subscribe. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.